Hey guys, I want you guys to check out my homegirl Chanel Adams. Go subscribe. Make sure you hit the notification bell and hit all so that you can get all the notifications, including for my channel because YouTube is doing something new. She also posted a video about mental illness, and we wanted to spread the word and get it out there that it's okay to talk about it. If you have your story out there on YouTube or on a blog post, leave your link down in the comment section so that everybody can check it out.
And if you see the screen in the back, that's because I'm about to edit some videos, and I keep having these weird dreams, and I don't know if it's like subconsciously or if it's like premonitions, because I know not everybody believes this, but I am a clairvoyant. I have dreams that always come true. Well, for the most part they come true, but they don't come exactly true how the dream played out. But I would say about 8 out of 10 my dreams come true. So I keep having dreams that I'm pregnant, which I don't think it means I'm gonna be pregnant. I think it's just a symbolism or a metaphor for something else. And in these dreams, I keep dreaming that I'm pregnant with either twins, or I had twins, or I'm pregnant with triplets, or I got pregnant with or I had triplets or something like that. And usually those mean abundance, success, new chapter in your life, new good things coming into your life. And I'm just like waking up in a cold sweat. Like, I I want my blessings to come now, which I know it's illogical to believe, like to think that it's gonna just come when you want it, but at the same time it's just like I want this shit to come now so I can stop dreaming about it, because I'm freaking myself out thinking that I'm gonna have twins or triplets, and that's a no-go in my book. I don't want to be having dreams about triplets or twins or whatever the case may be. I'm making coffee now. But I know a lot of people. I finally went through like some of the comments. I didn't have time to like go through and like comment back and everything like that. But I went through some of the comments about one of my old videos where I took the girls to the doctor's appointment and suggested that Akina does therapy. And a lot of people were saying like they were happy that, for the most part, people were saying like they liked that I showcased that or I was talking about it. And it kind of made me think about myself in her shoes. A lot of things I share is not to like brag or to get sympathy or anything like that, because a lot of the things I'm sharing is like a reflection for myself. And I when I put myself in her shoes, I mean, we did the intake and everything like that. I didn't vlog that because, some things I want to keep private for her. But I was thinking about when we were doing the intake or whatever, intake appointment for her to get scheduled and set up for it, it really brought me back to when I was her age. And it's weird because, like, the place that she's going to, I went to when I was a kid. It's Leon. Good morning, sir. I'm recording. You gonna say hi? They can't see you from over there. Leon's not in a good mood. He's like the kids, he's scrounging for food. You want me to make you some potatoes? No? So, like I was saying, it really brought back a lot of memories for myself, because the place that she's going to see a therapist is the same place I went to when I was roughly around her age. And for me, it was like, it brought back a lot of memories and feelings and emotions that I thought I dealt with over the years. And it made me realize that, like, I've dealt with it, but like in a sense to where, like, I think for me, I was concerned because, like, I don't want my daughter to have these feelings or my daughter to have these thoughts. And no parent wants their kid to feel like they want to die, or their kid wants to harm themselves or harm other people, or they have no motivation or feeling they don't have a purpose in life. And being a child myself that went through the same motions and the same emotions and feelings and thoughts and everything like that, like, it's difficult because you don't want your child to go through that. And you feel like, I feel like I tried to do things differently so that she wouldn't go through that. But, I can't put too much pressure on myself because mental illness runs in my family, point blank. It goes back to my ancestors before even my great grandmother. So, you know, I can't really put that pressure on myself and blame myself or feel horrible as a mother or as a parent that my child is going through something similar that I went through. And it sucks because in a way she is going through something similar. Like, her father isn't in her life, and he's an addict and all that stuff, and I kind of went through the same thing. The only difference was it was my mother. My mother wasn't really in my life like that, and she was an addict, and I was raised by somebody else. And even though it's kind of not the same for her, but at the same time, like, I can relate to her in a certain way when it comes to all that. And then I can also kind of relate to her in a sense because she's different. She doesn't care about like Cardi B, and she doesn't care about, having like the same style as everybody else at school. Like, she wants Jordans, but like her sense of style is way different than everybody else. And I was kind of like that. Like, I wasn't the kind of kid that wanted to dress up like everybody else. I wasn't the kid that was into the same, music and into the same things as other kids were. So like, I kind of can relate to her in a way, and that's why I kept mentioning to her and to you guys about her doing therapy, because I saw a lot of things in her that I saw in myself. And this goes back to my other video where I was talking about, like, some of the things that I pushed back, and I forgave a lot of people and I've moved on from it because, sometimes you're never going to get that conversation. And it sucks because, you want that conversation, you want that closure, and sometimes you just have to allow yourself to forgive yourself and to forgive the other person and accept. And acceptance is the hardest thing because sometimes you have to accept, you know, things are not going to be or play out in your mind in real life. I've had to accept the conversations I was never going to have. I had to accept the apologies that I was never going to get. And that's fine. Like, I've moved on from it. But I think because of the fact that I see myself in my kids, and I'm seeing some of the things that they're doing and some of the things that they're experiencing at school and at summer camp and stuff like that, and I've experienced it, that it's bringing back things that's making it hard for me to break down to their level, because I can talk about it without crying. I can talk about it without getting upset or irritated or whatever, but it's hard as a parent to break it down to a child's level for them to understand, because you may want them to stay in a child's place, but at the same time it's hard to not talk to them in that kind of way, because they hear it all the time. They hear it at school. They hear it out in the streets. They hear it when they go to other family members' house, or like, you never know what your kids are exposed to. So it's like, it's kind of hard, and it's hard, like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's like, it's kind of hard to, like, where that line is. And sometimes my kids, when I talk to them, sometimes I'm blunt and honest and raw with them, and then they kind of forget there's that line where I'm not your friend, I'm your parent. But then I also want them to feel comfortable enough and have that trust to be able to come to me and talk to me about certain things as if I'm a friend. I don't know, it's weird. I know a lot of you moms and other parents out there understand what I'm saying, but it's weird. Like, it's it's a struggle. It's a balancing act to figure out where it is that you want that level of respect, but you also want that level of trust and honesty with your kids. And thinking back to how I was when I was my daughter's age, and all the things that she's feeling and experiencing. And I'm only getting upset because, like, that's my baby, you know what I mean? But when I think back to the place that I was when I was her age or around that age to where I needed to go see therapy and I tried to commit suicide, and it's 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 hurtful because I don't want that for my kids, you know. But today's day and age, you know, social media is conforming our kids' mind. The news, the media, music, TV shows, everything you can think of is what's forming our kids' brains. Whereas when I was growing up, AOL was just popping off. So, like, it was just, AOL was just becoming a thing. It wasn't like it was just a new thing. Like, it was already on and popping, but like, AOL was just now starting up, and we didn't really have social media. And back then we had TRL, and we had 16106 in Park, and we had Rap City and all that. Like, that was our, like, influence. Our influence was TV. That was our influence. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have, you know, internet and social media and all that. I don't want to be that parent to be like, no, it's just your mind. You just think whatever you want to think. Like, that's your mindset. Because that's how I programmed my brain. I programmed my brain to not allow myself to be depressed. There's days that it's easier than others, and I'm not going to sit here and bullshit with you guys because I do deal with depression. I do deal with anxiety, but not in the sense to where I would lash out like I used to. Like, my anxiety when I was a kid was the opposite of what people perceive anxiety to be. People assume that anxiety is you hyperventilating and you crying in the ball and scream, like, you know what I mean? But my anxiety was where I was lashing out on people, I was throwing things, I was hitting people, I was, you know, screaming, and I was irate. Like, I was that typical, I don't know how to, I don't, because I don't want to really make it into about race, but like, everybody has this stereotype of how black women are, and when black women are angry and screaming and everything, people always assume that's just how they are, and that's just, they're crazy and they're wild or whatever. But in reality, a lot of us are dealing with anxiety, and we don't realize that it's anxiety. And it took me years to understand what triggers those, and it took me years to allow myself to not be so attached to certain things. And I really had to detach myself from a lot of things so that I wouldn't react. Instead of reacting, I now respond. And I program my brain to be to where it's like, if I have a negative thought, I counteract it with a positive thought. And, you know, and it's hard for me to force that on my kids because they're their own person and they're growing into being who they are. And because of the fact that I grew up around mental illness, it's hard for me to tell them they're wrong and how they feel. It's hard for me to tell them, you know, they're delusional and stuff, because kids don't understand the concept behind all that. And it just, I just can't be that person like how my parents were. And I'm not saying like they were like, you know, they didn't care or anything like that, because they put me in therapy, they got me the help that I needed. But like, the mindset that they had was like, it's my way or no way, or if you're mentally ill and you need to take all these medications, and that's how it is, and that's all I care about. And I don't want to be that parent. I want my kids to have options. I want my kids to be able to feel like they're not stuck to just one opinion or one option, when there's multiple options and multiple coping mechanisms to help them deal with what they're dealing with. And that's something I didn't have when I was growing up. I didn't have that option. I didn't have the policy of an open door and open communications, no judgment, no nothing. I didn't have that option, and I want that option for my kids. And that's why I did the journals. That's why I wanted to do the journals, because Akina has told me multiple times that it's hard for her to come talk to me because she doesn't want to break down and cry. And I get it because I'm that kind of person. I was that kind of person. Now I really don't give a shit. I'm gonna be bawling, it's snot rolling and everything. But like when you're at that age, I get it. You don't want people to see you weak. You don't want to see people. You don't want people to think you're vulnerable or weak or a loser or something like that. So I get it. So that's why I opted for the journal option when my sister presented it to me, because I want that barrier or that option to be, that communication line to be open for us, regardless if it hurts, regardless if it makes you happy, regardless if it's scary or confusing. I want that communication to be open so that they don't feel like they don't have nobody to talk to. And my policy has always been, since they were like 3, if you can't even talk to me, at least have somebody else that you can talk to, whether if it's grandma, nana, your cousins, or anybody, your aunts or uncles, it doesn't matter, or even a school counselor or a teacher. If you have somebody that you can go to talk to about how you're feeling, and it makes you feel better, even if it's not me, because I can't really take that personal because I'm mom. So, and she never really found that, I guess. She talks to me. We used to communicate more so when she had her phone, but since I took that, she didn't get the phone back, and it ain't happening. But we used to communicate that way through like text messages and stuff like that. And since that option is gone, I figured the journals will help reopen that door again. Just that experience, going through the whole intake appointment and taking her and talking things out about what was going on and what she's feeling and what she's going through, it really put me back into that little girl space, in that headspace, because I don't want my kid to feel or think that way. You don't really want your kids to feel that way. You don't want your kids to think that way. And in reality, is not really anything I'm doing wrong, because she tried to make that clear that it's not me, you know, it's not daddy, it's not our living situation. It's just what she's feeling and what she's going through. And for me, it's like, it's hard pill to swallow, because you just don't want your kids to feel that way, regardless if it's, kid stuff. And it's hard. But it really put me back into that mental space. And in a way, it was a good thing, and in a way, it's a bad thing, because I don't want to be upset about it. But at the same time, you know, it helps me understand what she's thinking, and it helps me understand what she's feeling, because I've been there. I remember what it was like being in that dark space. I remember what it was like. I saw the signs. I knew the signs were there, and I kept trying to push her to want to do it. But eventually, it just took to the point that her opinion and options wasn't a choice anymore. I didn't want it to get to the point where it was too late, if that makes sense. I didn't want it to get to the point where it was too late and there was no coming back to it. Sometimes, as a parent, you want your kids to have options, and you want them to be able to have that independence and to be able to make their own choices and make their own mistakes. But sometimes, as a parent, you gotta make choices for them, a better option for them, because you want the best for them. And so it took a lot, and it took a lot of conversations. And I think now she's more understanding, and she is in a different headspace, because I think in her mind she thought she was going to get a whole bunch of shots, or she had to take a whole bunch of medication. And right now, I told her it's not even about that. And then there was also a thing that I kept trying to explain to her, it's a confidential. So whatever you tell the doctor or the therapist or whatever, they're not going to tell me, unless you want to harm yourself or harm others. That's the only time they'll say anything to me. So I think having that hour to herself where somebody can just talk to her and she can just talk about how she feels. I don't know why in a way for me it hurts, but at the same time it's like it makes sense. But you know, in my house there's no judgment, there's no flack or anything that will come to you if you have an opinion or you have a thoughts or you have likes or dislikes. But I get it. If you're watching this, I don't want anybody to feel like, you know, it's a bad thing. I did therapy from the time I was 7 until I was 20. And mind you, I met Leon when I was 19. So therapy is not a bad thing. I could probably use some therapy right now. To be honest with you guys, like I could probably use some therapy. And I even said that, like, make me want to come back to therapy. And shoot, 5 kids, a whole job, YouTube. And even if you're doing YouTube, like, you can use some therapy if you're doing YouTube, because the comments, man. But I don't want anybody to feel like when you're watching my videos that I'm trying to get sympathy or I'm trying to exploit my kids. It's a topic that we need to talk about. It's a topic that isn't talked about enough. We need people to have the courage to speak up and talk about their experiences. I've dealt with depression and anxiety my whole life. Even after I had kids, I had dealt with postpartum depression. I've had my moments where I was suicidal before kids and after kids. So don't be scared to talk to somebody. Don't be scared to go get help. You're not crazy. It can trigger any time with any events. Sometimes people went through things when they were a child and they pushed it back and don't remember it. And then an event happens and it triggers it to come out to where you have to deal with anxiety and you have to deal with depression. Sometimes it's just a hormonal thing. It's a hormonal balance that messes you up and you need to get the help. It's a topic that I thought about not discussing on my channel only because it's my kids. She said, let's talk about it, put it out there. Other people need to know what's going on. Other people need to know that it's okay to go get help. It's okay to talk to a therapist. It's okay to, you know, feel the way you're feeling. Sometimes and I'm guilty of this, sometimes we try to tell ourselves that we shouldn't feel that way, we shouldn't think that way, but it's okay to allow yourself to feel the way that you feel. It's okay to allow yourself to think the way that you think. And like, that's why I said, you know, it's not about what you initially think, it's not about what you initially feel, it's what you do after the fact to counteract it, so that you put yourself in a better mental space, so that you're not dwelling on it and you're not harboring on those emotions and feelings and thoughts constantly. And that's something that I had to accept, because once I got into the law of attraction, it was really hard. It was so hard for me to remove myself from that emotions and that the past beliefs that I was raised around. It was hard for me. And over time I realized, you know what? I don't have to always be positive. I don't always have to be, you know, happy. And there's moments where I'm gonna be angry. There's gonna be moments where I'm gonna be sad. There's gonna be moments where I'm gonna be fuck this, fuck that type of shit. It's okay to allow yourself to feel what you're feeling and then move on. Sometimes it takes longer. I feel what I feel, and I had to dissect every single thing and ask myself, why do I feel this way? Why am I thinking this way? Well, what caused this? And figure out the actual pinpoint of the triggers. And then there's times where I feel what I feel and just let it go, and then I'll come back to it later on when something else comes up in it. And it's easy, but it's not easy. It takes a lot of work, and that's what I mean by, like, your spiritual journey is not, there's no end game. There's no heaven, there's no hell. It's a constant evolvement. Even when you're gone, even before you're born, even when you die, it's a constant involvement. And that's something that I've learned for myself. Look at it as an end result, because even when I'm 60 or 70 or 80 or on my deathbed, I'm still going to have those aha moments, and I'm still going to have revelations and reflect on a lot of things in my life as I'm getting older or as I'm on my deathbed. Don't look at it as there's an end to the journey of your spiritual growth, because there's not. And you're going to be, and if you do look at it like that, then you're going to be constantly chasing something that's not going to be fulfilling, and you're never going to be content with what you have. I didn't know this, but I think for me, all this time, I just wanted freedom. Once you have that freedom, you're more at peace with yourself, because you have that freedom to be yourself. You have that freedom to do and be, and then you have that sense of calmness because you're not afraid. It's hard. It's a struggle, but I just want, I only put that out there because I just want people to know that it's okay. And I'm here for you guys. If you guys message me, I respond on here or on Instagram or on Facebook. I will respond as soon as I can. If you need somebody to talk to, my DMs are open all the time. There's this number here if you need somebody to talk to. It's okay. It's gonna be okay. Everything will be okay.